We are very pleased to welcome to the studio tonight one of the few people in the world, if not the only person in the world, who has spent the major part of his life underwater, attempting to teach ravens to fly.
Good evening.
Good evening. We're very pleased to welcome to the studio tonight Sir Arthur Grebe-Streebling.
Streebling.
I beg your pardon?
You're confusing me with Sir Arthur Grebe-Streebling. Good evening.
Yes, good evening. Thank you very much.
And good Greebling.
Good Greebling indeed.
Hello, fans.
Shut up, Sir Arthur.
Good evening.
Good evening. Sir Arthur, could you tell us what first led you to this way of life, teaching ravens to fly underwater?
Well, it's very difficult to say what prompts anyone to do anything, let alone getting underwater and teaching ravens to fly. I think it dates to a very early age, when I was quite a young fellow. My mother, Lady Beryl Streep-Greebling, the wonderful dancer, 107 tomorrow and still dancing, she came up to me in the conservatory. I was pruning some walnuts and she said to me, "Arthur!" I wasn't Sir Arthur in those days. She said, "Arthur, if you don't get underwater and start teaching ravens to fly, I'll smash your stupid face off." And I think it was this sort of thing that inspired the whole business of getting them underwater.
How old were you?
I was 47. I just majored in O-level in forestry. I got through that and I was looking about for something to do.
Yes, where did you strat your work?
I think it could be said of me that I never ever stratted my work. That is something I have never done. I could lay my hand on my heart, or indeed anyone else's heart, and say I never stratted my work. Never stratted at all. I think what you probably want to know is when I started my work. You've misread completely the question.
Yes, I'm awfully sorry. I did make an error. Where did you start your work?
Where did I start it? Well, I started almost immediately. My mother had given me this hint. She's a very powerful woman, Lady Beryl. She can break a swan's wing with a blow of her nose. Powerful creature.
Sir Arthur, is it difficult to get ravens to fly underwater?
I think the word difficult is an awfully good one here. Yes, it is. It's well nigh impossible. God, you see, in his infinite wisdom and mercy, designed these creatures to fly in the air rather than the watery substances of the deep, so they experience tremendous difficulty, as you said, difficulty, in beating their tiny wings against the water. It's a disastrous experience for them.
How do you manage to breathe?
Through the nose and mouth, the usual method, in fact. God gave us these orifices for breathing, and who am I to condemn him? I think you can't breathe through anything else, really. You can't breathe through your ears, because you can't hear yourself speak. To thrush to your ears, can't hear yourself speak. Nose and mouth is what I use, and I trust you do as well.
Yes, I most certainly do. What I was meaning was, how do you manage to breathe underwater?
Well, that's completely impossible. Nobody can breathe underwater. That's what makes it so difficult, you see. I have to keep bobbing my head up to the surface every 30 seconds. Makes it impossible to conduct a sustained training program on the ravens, and they're no better. They can't even be taught to hold their beaks, horrible little animals. There they are, sitting on my wrist. I say, "Fly, fly, you devils!" And they inhale a face full of water.
I suppose they drown, do they?
It's curtains, yes, they drown. Little black feathery figure topples off my wrist, spirals very slowly down to a watery grave. We're knee-deep in feathers off on that part of the coast.
Sir Arthur, have you ever managed to get a raven to fly underwater?
No. I have never managed to get one to fly underwater. Not a single success in 40 years of training.
Sounds rather like a miserable failure then, your whole life really, I suppose.
My life has been a miserable failure, yes.
Just how old are you, if that's not a personal question?
It is a personal question, but I'm 83. Remarkably well preserved, of course, because of the water on my face.
Well, I would say then that your life really has been a bit of a shambles.
It's a bit late in life for it to turn to anything else, you see. I've often thought of taking something else up, you know, something more commercial, but you try going round to a firm and they ask you what were you doing before this, and you say, well, I was hovering about 10 foot underwater, attempting unsuccessfully to get ravens to fly. They tend to look down their nose at you.
What a miserable thing.
A miserable thing indeed, yes.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Sir Arthur, for telling us your absolute tale of woe. Thank you for coming along.
Good evening.